The first segment of the Hot 7 Nightly News is brought to you by Flow.
Tonight, Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre lays down the new COVID-19 laws. Our new COVID-19 protocols encouraging bad behavior. And the SLMDA stands by the PM's decision. That and more coming up.
This is the Hot 7 Nightly News with Lovelace and Amy Joseph.
Good night. It is Thursday, the 12th of August, 2021. Welcome to the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. I'm Lovely St. Amy Joseph. Thank you for joining us. From the 13th of August to the 31st of August, St. Lucia will be guided by new COVID-19 protocols. The changes come as the island continues to record an increase in COVID-19 cases, which was exacerbated by breaches to COVID-19 protocols over the election campaigning period. Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre addressed the nation Wednesday night, where he outlined the new protocols.
In his first major address to the nation following his swearing in as Prime Minister, Philip J. Pierre sought to bring to St. Lucians a new stance on the country's handling of the COVID-19 pandemic. With close to 400 active cases at the time, the government sought to devise a strategy to reduce and contain the spread of the virus, all while keeping citizens gainfully employed.
The policy of my government in handling the pandemic is to follow the science and the advice of the health expert and to encourage all citizens to do the same. This virus is too serious a threat to our lives and livelihoods to be left to the whims and fancies of uninformed personal opinions. We understand the discomfort and sometimes inconvenience that comes with following the recommended COVID protocols. However, discomfort and inconvenience are small prices to pay for the protection of our lives and livelihood. In support of government's policy of following the science, we shall be making a structural change to the COVID-19 command center and allow it to be headed by a health expert, not a minister of government or politician, as the law currently requires. We shall, in addition, decriminalize COVID protocol breaches. Persons who have been previously arrested, charged, and convicted for COVID-19 protocol breaches will have their records expunged.
A curfew of 9 p.m. has been recommended and commercial activity must end by 8 p.m. daily. Social gatherings are to be restricted to the immediate household and families, limited to 10 people. Pierre also elaborated on special events.
No allowance is given for gatherings and special events for the 3-week period. Neither vaccinated or unvaccinated people are allowed to host or attend any social events, including but not limited to parties, boat rides, receptions, etc. No loud music permits to be issued for 3-week period. No formal submissions of requests to host social events will be processed for the 3-week period.
Sporting activities, including gyms, will be allowed to operate in keeping with the necessary protocols and capacity limited by square footage. No spectators, however, will be allowed during the period. There will also be restrictions on tourism operations.
No local stay at COVID-approved properties where unvaccinated visitors are accommodated. All boat rides prohibited for the 3-week period. Alternative days for local and tourist service at parks, restaurants, etc. are to be maintained for this period. An ongoing assessment and other measures will be implemented as per consultation with the Ministry of Health and Ministry of Tourism.
In the coming days, St. Lucia will receive a donation of Pfizer COVID-19 vaccines to help augment its COVID-19 vaccination campaign, giving citizens the choice of an alternative vaccine. For the Hot 7 News, Nisha Charles reporting.
Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre announced on Wednesday that people previously arrested, charged, or convicted of COVID-19 protocol breaches will have their records expunged. Former UWP Chairman Michael Flood has taken issue with the decision. He says it makes no sense to establish protocols and then announce that there will be no consequences if one chooses not to comply. Karim Nelson has more.
The spike in COVID-19 cases over the last week led to the expectation of changes to be made to the national COVID-19 protocols. In the past 3 days, there have been over 100 cases reported, and so, as anticipated, the changes came and were announced by Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre in a national address on Wednesday night. One of the conditions outlined in the announcement was that those who have previous convictions for breaches in COVID-19 protocols would have their records expunged. This decision has garnered opposition from individuals, including former UWP chairman Michael Flood, who says that it sets a dangerous precedent to establish protocols and then declare that there will not be any redress when one decides to not comply.
Persons who have been convicted of, let's say, not obeying the curfew hours and they were arrested or charged by the police, you are expunging their convictions. Tell me, how can we as a nation control this epidemic that we're in when you've just said to me that there are no laws governing what you do? Whilst I say, yes, you should be home by 9 o'clock, there are no laws to say if you found outside by 11, 12 a.m., 2 a.m., there's absolutely no law saying that you should not be, because that's what they've done. Right? It's like telling me, thou shalt not kill. You should not kill. But if I go there and I kill somebody, I just walk free.
Flood is making a plea to Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre to reconsider his decision, as it will have a negative impact on police officers who will be the ones responsible for upholding the protocols.
I'm saying to Pierre, who again I know very well, this I believe is something he, as a Prime Minister, and his government need to walk back, because there is no way. There is no way. There are people who will deliberately challenge the police when it comes to the curfew. There are people out there that will deliberately set themselves out to just to stay out late. The police will come. Well, again, that's if the police may not do anything because the police have no powers. Or if they are accosted by the police, they'll say to the police, look, what are you talking about? There are no laws stating I should not be here. The Prime Minister said it. The Prime Minister just advised that we should be home by 9. But there is nothing stating that I should not be here.
Flood says that this is a major error on the part of the government, as it is synonymous to a mere tap on the wrist. Flood is urging the government to reassess their decision. Reporting for the Hot 7 Nightly News, I am Kareem Nelson.
The St. Lucia Medical and Dental Association is throwing its support behind the government and its approach to tackling the COVID-19 pandemic. According to the association's president, St. Lucians should have seen the changes coming. Dr. Merle Clark says inevitably people must take personal responsibility for their own health and safety.
For the last 18 months, the St. Lucia Medical and Dental Association has been clamoring for appropriate COVID-19 protocols to decrease the spread of the virus among St. Lucians. As the country recorded one wave after another, the association continued to preach adherence to the guidelines and ultimately vaccination. Following Wednesday night's address to the nation, the association has come out in strong support of the new protocols and says that personal responsibility is key to fighting this pandemic.
The reality is we as a people have to take some personal responsibility. This cannot be left only to health officials. It cannot be left only to any government. We have to understand that to get through this pandemic, there has to be not only collective but personal responsibility as well. Each one do your part. Mask up, adhere to the tried and tested public health protocols. Ensure you're wearing your mask and wearing it well. Physical distancing. Do not have social gatherings. The numbers have been reduced to 10, and we know there have been transgressions throughout the last 18 months. The time is now, St. Lucians, to do this for your country. We have to stem the rise in the number of COVID-19 cases. And of course, we cannot desist from urging St. Lucians to get vaccinated.
The changes to protocols include a 9 p.m. curfew and a ban on all social events, whether people are vaccinated or not. Dr. Merle Clark says that this is a step in the right direction.
If we are to emerge from this, we all have to do our part, St. Lucia. So yes, we absolutely agree to the more rigid protocols. Perhaps more stringent measures will be necessary at the end of those 3 weeks, but if we all do our part, then perhaps we'll start to see a decline in the numbers, and then we could start to return to some semblance of normalcy. But if we do not, and if we do not get vaccinated, the protocols and the measures are going to have to be more rigid. The power is in our hands as citizens of this country. We cannot take this lightly. And we, of course, at the Medical and Dental Association, as a medical fraternity, we will do our part. We're duty bound. We took an oath to do our part, to take care of our fellow citizens.
As of August 11th, St. Lucia has recorded 5,982 cases of COVID-19. For the Hot 7 News, Nisha Charles reporting.
You're watching the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. Stay with us. Still to come, questions arise surrounding the national security portfolio. The Anglican Church distances itself from the anti-vaccination ideologies, and a familiar face resurfaces to speak on life post-elections. That and more after the break.
The first segment of the Hot 7 Nightly News was brought to you by Flow.